Hello, everyone. I just saw a message that some people can't hear me. Can you hear me? Could someone please just say yes or no so I know if you can?
No, I don't think we can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. So let's see what
Oh,
we
I
can
can
do.
hear you now, Michael. I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay, great, great. Thank you. Everyone else, a few more people. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, this is great. This is great. All right, it's 11:02. Let's get started. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Michael Justin Lee. I'm new to Leland, but I'm not new to the field of MBA admissions consulting. I have, in fact, been working for many years with one of the top firms, whose name I won't mention because they don't need the free publicity. But I've set out on my own here on Leland and elsewhere to bring my methodology to a wider audience than I was getting. Okay, let me tell you about myself. I am a former professor of finance, among other schools I've taught at, or Georgetown, Johns Hopkins. Most recently, I taught at the University of Maryland, where I'm pleased to say 3 years in a row I won the Distinguished Teaching Award. This relates because, of course, working as an admissions consulting is teaching one-on-one. Okay. And there's something else of importance which may not seem important, but I'll get into that. I'm also a professional filmmaker. If you want to, you can see my movies. They're on Amazon. They're on iTunes Movies. They're on Google Movies, iTunes Films. This is relevant. Okay. Now, let me start by saying I do not assume people know that much about the admissions process. I know some of you know a lot about it, but some don't. And so, what I'm going to say is targeted to everyone, however much or little they know. I'll get right into it. I have a methodology which I call the storyline methodology. It is unique. In fact, it's so unique, I've actually been able to trademark it. And last year, I was accepted to the AIGAC, Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants, because of this. Not everyone knows the organization. If I say so myself, it's very exclusive. There are fewer than 200 members around the world. What is it that I do? The in the term storyline methodology, the key word is line. Now you may be wondering, isn't story the most key term? It's very important, but everyone knows it. What is less important, and what I'm here to talk about, is the title of my talk, is that unfortunately, far too many people who are applying focus so much on their story that they dilute the importance of the most important thing. This is critical. Now, for those of you who are just starting the process, you may or may not know how limited is the word count that you have to work with. It is truly, in my opinion, they give you too few words to work with it, with the exception of Harvard. But as a result, you must focus on the most important. And the most important may not be what you think is the most important. To use an extreme example, suppose you won the Olympic gold medal in something. Great. Obviously, extraordinary. It should well be on your resume. But should it be a focus of your application essays? There's not a definite yes or no on this one, but I will say this. Is what you want to do related to having won the Olympic gold medal? Okay. Now, of course, having won something that outstanding means you have a tremendous amount of motivation, dedication, all that. Of course it is. Of course it is. That can be worked in. But in the few words you have to work, is it the most important thing? Now, my storyline methodology employs a very simple a schematic. It is as follows: your past plus your present plus business school equals what future? And this is the line that I work with my clients to hammer hard. And this is where it comes in to where I bring in that I am I am a professional filmmaker, because in any well-told story, whether in film or in novel or in essay, you have to hook the audience, the admissions committee, and bring them further and further in. Now, admittedly, if you had unlimited word count, you could bring in, so to speak, subplots, more supporting characters to enrich the story, without question. But you don't have all that. Therefore, what must you do? You must choose from your inventory of experiences what are the pieces that, in fact, can be put onto your schematic from past to present to business school to future. Okay. Now I'll get into what happens, what do you do if you're a career changer. Let me come back to that. But the key thing is to leave in the mind of the admissions officer reading it what you are about. Many clients who come to me having started, and I understand this, they should be proud of their many achievements. So they gotta work it in. They gotta work it in. I ask them this. Assume you are the one reading your essay for the first time. Quick, what would you tell the director of admissions? What is this person all about? If you have read an essay that tells all the magnificent things about you. Now, anyone who truly aspires to the M7 and has a great chance at it, of course, have a lot to say. But what do you focus on? Whatever, again, whatever leads to the best future, so to speak. What makes them proud? What could make them most proud of you to have been educated there? And this is the key. Therefore, you must not dilute your story with, I don't want to call them miscellaneous. I know it going back to my silly example. If you did win the Olympic gold medal, it should be there, but it's in your resume, which you will be required to submit. Should you expend valuable word count on it? And it goes further. Any well-written essay, in any well-written essay, each paragraph builds upon the preceding paragraph, of course. Each sentence must build upon the preceding sentence. The problem is that when you try to force in everything about your background that you're proud of, what you wind up getting is essentially a list of bullet points written into prose. You, once again, in the word count that you have, you cannot focus on all of them. So, frankly, with some of the people I work with, you are it becomes more cutting back than building up. And I actually am comfortable saying that's with most clients. Okay, you gotta already cut back, even if you are clinging to a tight storyline. So can you imagine what you're doing if you are introducing elements that are beyond, that are outside of your schematic? You have really reduced what you can say of the most critical thing that you intend to leave with the admissions committee, what impression of it is. Okay, dilution. You cannot dilute. Impact. That is the critical thing. Now that there's something I did not know is often said until I started in this field, is that some people seem to think that a well-written essay, and they use these exact words every time, Tell them what you're going to tell them in the intro, tell them in intervening paragraphs, and conclude by telling what you just told them. Everyone, don't do that. That is the key to a terribly written essay, let alone the fact that you are wasting word count. That is not a good essay. It may or may not be a good public speech, though I don't think it is either, but it certainly is not how you should write an essay for this purpose. Like a movie, or like a good movie, you hook them in the first and two sentences, the first and second sentences, not much more than that. Then paragraphs need not be 7, 8 sentences long. Doesn't need to be that way. Each paragraph builds upon the preceding paragraph, and as I said previously, even each sentence must build upon the preceding sentence. And this is what is not possible in limited word count when you're talking about putting everything about your life into these essays. I do regret that some people, many people, will be upset that they can't get their entire life story in. But it is not your entire life story that's going to impress them. It is the specific thing you want to leave with them, once again, that incorporates what you have done and continues onto what future you are planning. Okay. Now, for those who are planning to go to business school to change careers, it is not different. Okay. I'm aware that, let's say, I want to transition from technology to investment banking. Fine. The fact that you have chosen to do that is part of the present in the schematic. What led you to want to do that? I recently spoke with a client who is transitioning from being a jet fighter, an aviator, a pilot in the Navy who flew jets, wanting to transition to the public sector. 8 years in the Navy. From what I could tell, I don't know the military that well. His achievements were very, very strong. But it does not detract from his story that he doesn't want to go into, for instance, to continue on as a naval aviator with a business degree, to work in, say, naval logistics. No, that is not necessarily the case. But you do need to explain why you want this transition. And very importantly, you must be drawn to something. You must never put it in terms of, I am leaving the field. Even if it is the case, you must not say it. It must always be phrased in the active sense. Okay, I am attracted to it. Now, you are. Obviously, you are. You wouldn't say it if you weren't. But you must not focus on, so to speak, the negatives. Now, it may not be a negative. It just turns out not to be for you. There's no need to say that. There's no need to dwell on explaining why this wasn't right for you. It's defensive, rhetorically defensive. No need to explain. Young people like you, or even whatever age you might be, you in the years we have in life, you want to use them for the best possible life that you have. You need not focus on explaining why you're moving away. You must focus on why you're moving towards. This is a critical distinction. It's a critical distinction because if you're saying you're moving away from something, isn't it somewhat passive? Something is happening to you, or well, you know what I mean. It is so much better to talk about, I am so excited. I feel the challenge. I feel It is the point of the rest of my life to do this. And that is what career changers can do. And do you see? It's not different from what those who are wanting to springboard further along what they are already doing. It's no different. Now, obviously, it's different what you say, but the process of on the schematic is not different. What you are, that is your present. Bring in how this education will take you further. And you gotta be specific. It is not enough to say, I want an MBA. It is not enough to say, I want an MBA at your university. It is not enough to say, I want to study finance at your university to obtain an MBA. You got to delve even further into what you would learn while studying finance into you, so that you can project forward into your chosen future. And that is the part of the schematic in which, as I said, past plus present plus school is what future. You gotta link them up, okay? Everyone, this is the most critical thing. Whether you choose to work with me or not, make this clear. I am aware there are some consultants who disagree with me. Everyone, are you still able to hear me? Someone
Yeah.
please answer. Okay. Someone said that my voice is breaking. Is that still the case?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. In answer to the question, will this be recorded? The answer is I don't know. But contact Leland. They'll get you the answer to that question. Where was I?
Okay, thank you.
Someone remind me, where was I? What was I saying? Before I was addressing if my voice was breaking. What specifically was I saying? No one? Okay. Well, what I could recall generally of what I was just saying is about the schematic. Okay. Oh, I remember. Whether you choose to work with me or not, some people, some consultants do go with the this is a bit insulting, but I'll say it anyway. The kitchen sink approach. Give them everything about you. Again, I highly disagree with that. You, the serious applicants to the M7 have so many achievements. You can't get to them all. You can't do justice to it. That's a better way of saying it, in the limited word count. And you extra, especially, cannot do it justice while telling your concrete storyline, the spine, so to speak, of your novel, of your movie. You gotta keep it so targeted that when that admissions officer puts down your application, and you know they're going to talk about it. It won't just be one admissions officer who will read it. There will at least be two. They'll be able to communicate. This person is this and can summarize you quickly. Okay, the person who brings in 15 of all their magnificent achievements. First of all, do all 15 relate to your academic and professional endeavors? I highly doubt it. You knew since you were applying to college, undergraduate, that you've been told to broaden your interest, and I assume most of you have. Great, but once again, you don't want to leave that scattershot approach out there, because I assure you, not to insult anyone, no matter how many achievements you have, there are a great many other applicants who also have a great number of achievements. Okay, they'll see it on your resume. And for those of you who are just starting the exploration process for the applications, you probably already know this. Your 800 on the GMAT Your 4.0 GPA is not the most important thing. You will see many people complaining, why didn't I get in with these academics? The answer is because those academics are not not only are they not the most important thing, once you're in the upper end of the average range, you're just normal. Okay. Don't mean to insult anyone, but it is true. It's what you will do with the education or for whom they have limited seats in their class, in your graduating class. Who should they get it? Now, one of my proudest achievements was a client from a very small country who had not very poor country. Did go to college in the United States, but a small, frankly, non-elite college, and there did not get a GPA of 3.0 or above, did not get a GMAT of 700 or above. If memory serves correctly, his GMAT was like 650. He got into Harvard Business School because of the way I worked with him. Yeah, bragging. He had a lot to say about his upbringing, about coming to the United States, and what he wants to do henceforth. You will hear many people say this as you do more and more research. You will wonder, how did that person get in if they only had, 2.9 GPA? Now, to be clear, that's not great, but it's not a necessary insurmountable barrier. You can get around that, okay? Even more to a greater extent than undergraduate. You can do it at the undergraduate level as well. And yes, I do consult with undergraduate applicants. At the business school and also law school, by the way, you can surmount less than stellar academics with story, with life purpose, with, frankly, probability of making them proud that they ever gave you an education. This is the crux of my storyline methodology. And as long as I've already bragged, I'll brag some more. My record speaks for itself. You will not find me in Poets and Quants, because when I left the firm that I had worked for years, they took down my profile along with all my reviews. But I'm proud of what I've done. If I say so myself, AIGAC doesn't admit just anyone, and there you have it, people. If you have questions, we have 5 more minutes remaining. Please, I welcome anything you'd like to ask. Okay, well, since there are no questions, I wish you all well.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is the storyline methodology most impactful through interview or essay?
Oh, great question. Great question. The answer is both. My services include interview prep, and frankly, it's one of my strengths. I put my clients through an interview boot camp when it gets to that point. Now, you don't start there, but leading up to it, this is very, very important. It needs to be consistent, but this is also important. It needs to be more fleshed out. Your interview needs to be more fleshed out than your essays were. Now, this makes sense. They've already read your essay. Your interview, to the extent you can bring it in, and I'll teach you methodologies to bring it in, is to bring in all those other things that there wasn't time to elaborate upon in your essays. Now, of course, you still have to cling to the storyline, make it clear. But the interview is not really it's to get a sense of your professional comportment. I believe that is the most important thing. This will not be a time where and I've never heard this. No client has ever said, and if in my interview, we went through the details of this deal or that deal. They'll talk about it, but they're not going to go fine tune and say, what did you do on this big deal that you described? No, you'll have to talk about, and that's the part of the methodology of the present. What are you doing currently professionally? You got to give examples. Yes. So you got to be prepared to do that. But again, the professional comportment is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Now, you can understand this most clearly at if you're applying to Harvard and Stanford, where they employ the case study method. You will be required to present your case. They'll call on you every single class. Every student must make an important contribution to class discussions. Now, it's every M7 and elite business school is like that to some extent, not necessarily to the extent of Harvard and Stanford. Harvard is 100% case study. Stanford is primarily case study, but all have some of that. Well, if someone cannot articulate themselves, and I'm not talking about speaking the King's English, no, I'm not talking about that, but make their case, that would be difficult for that person to get through business school, get through their business school. Okay, so in answer to the question, the methodology applies to both the essay portion and the interview portion, and the two must be linked. Obviously, you can't say something totally different when when you're being interviewed that you had submitted. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, people, it just happens to be virtual, practically 11:30. So I'd like to thank you for joining me. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me via the Leland platform. And whatever you choose to do, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.